Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Nuke coming back at you with a recap video for today's market action. I figure, you know what, I'm going to try something different. I'm going to start trying to do this recap video for you guys in the mornings right after I'm done trading rather than have you wait until the end of the day, for the full recap of what the ticker's maxed out at. This way you've got it sooner and then you can kind of get your head wrapped around it. Anyway, so I only played 4 of the 7 tickers that we were looking at, and then I can kick myself because I missed 2 very good plays, but I can't complain because I banked out really well on what I was looking at. So without further ado, let's start off, and I'm just going to work you left to right on the way that I have them laid out on my screen. Started out with square. You remember we had our pre-market resistance drawn, and then we had this little jewel came up where it set in a lower high. What is that? Approximately 10 minutes prior to the start of the day's open. So I missed it out of the gate. I didn't take the long. And when it dropped down below this pre-market resistance line that set in, once it broke below that, and this was sitting on the Fibonacci, what was the high of day, I think. Let's see. Maybe, I forgot what line. I marked it there for some reason. Anywho, I jumped in there basically because it had got down below this pre-market support, and I rode it all the way down to the pre-market low of day. I didn't get out on the first candle, but when that second candle went green, I got out. I mean, we had a long wick up, and then it dropped back down, but I wasn't taking any chances. Locked in profit. So I locked in $3.16 worth of profit movement on the square trade. I didn't take it long because this previous support line I drew really had me kind of just thinking like, there's a ceiling to this, and sure was. It broke through it, and then I had the other support line, but it didn't make that. And when it broke through again to the downside, I said, you know what, let me go ahead and reshort this thing. And it comes down, it goes below the daily low, comes back up, and, it's starting to channel up in here, right? And so after the third time it did it, it's done set in a couple of new lower highs. But what scared me was this high right here was higher than this one. So I was afraid that I was in an uptrend, which we may be here, even though this is a lot of consolidation. So I had a good entry point. And after the third time, I just didn't want to lose profit and let it get away from me. So I took profit as soon as it broke below the pre-morning low. So I scalped out another 95 cents there, and then I just stayed out of it. And what I'm looking at right now is we have this, God, I can't talk, can't think. That when you get like this, guys, stop trading. If you can't think, you can't articulate things, you damn sure shouldn't be putting money on it. But that's me personally, just a little tidbit there. So what I'm looking at is this, God, I keep wanting to say pre-market, this trend line of resistance. We have the wedge pattern using the bottom low price for pre-market action. So as this price is wedging in here, right, this could be a descending triangle pattern, or it could break out to the upside. So if you're looking for a breakout to the downside, yeah, there's a lot more potential. But in terms of looking at it on a longer scale, here we go. We have the 50 EMA that we're basically sitting on. And then we have the 20 EMA, which is above where it should be. This is indicating that in the short term, we're in a uptrend. And then we have the 200 EMA above to the top, which is finally flattened out. So I would say this thing is ready to turn around and start bouncing back to the upside. That's why I don't really think, I'm not waiting to see this thing break down. I think it's going to get up and try and come back to the open of the day price, daily open price somewhere. I don't think it's going to get up to the 80s, but I do think it's going to start climbing back up. Plus, at the time frame, we're 2 hour or an hour and a half into the day. This is at reversal time. So, yeah, I just think it's ready. You know, I'm not holding out for anything lower, and I am done trading for the day. Next ticker up is going to be Qualcomm, QCOM. Yay, I can spell today. Just can't talk. All right. So I had two separate resistance lines drawn, and you can see all morning this thing was just tanking. Doop, 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 doop. And then herp-a-derp. What happened right there when we go to open? This thing totally reverses direction. All morning it's been dropping. The big money come in and said, nope, we've had enough. They started taking profits. When the big money started taking profits in pre-market hours, that changed the script for the day. Then they got out. A few people tried to get a little more in on it. And then what happens? Nope, market sentiment saying, no, we're going higher. So I missed some of the good stuff, but I caught a couple of decent trades. I got, so I'm trying to figure out how to explain this on what I did. I had this triangle here, and when it wedged out, I missed this candle. And then we started getting into a consolidation. And what I saw here was a wedge forming. So what I wanted to capture was a breakout of that wedge. And since we had a wedge here and it broke to the upside, we had a wedge here. The way I looked at this was like an Elliott wave configuration. And if this was my first wave, this was my second wave, which is my biggest, I wanted to capture what I could. So I caught that third wave, scammed it for 40 cents, and then I missed my initial short here. God, I was kicking myself because I seen it happening, but I just couldn't button mash fast enough. So I missed it, and I waited. And it had a little pullback, and when I seen this doji and the first tip of this red, I started mashing buttons. So I caught another short here, but I wasn't expecting it was going to stay short for long. So what ends up happening is this was your first wave, this was your second wave of movement, and then here's your third wave. So I caught a couple of good trades. It's not by any means what the most you could have captured, but I was happy with it. And the other thing I just wasn't super thrilled with on this is look how far apart my Fibonacci is. You know, Fibonacci is, why is it? Hold on. Maybe I've got the wrong one on there. Still had the pre-market fibs on that. There we go. So the Fibonacci's were just so far apart on this thing because of the price action. So I just didn't want to get caught up in being wrong. Could I have taken it long? Yes. I just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't confident. And if I'm not feeling confident, I try and just err on the side of let's not do anything, because you can't take my money from me if I don't put it in the market to play with. But this would have been an amazing long. Once we broke over these candles here, this would have been a good entry point for me, risking the low of these candles, and then that would have shot me a little over $1.20 worth of profit. So it would have been a good trade. I didn't take it, but I was happy with what I got. And if that's one thing I can kind of point you guys to, it's you can't be too greedy. You need a little bit of greed to keep you driven, but you need to be realistic and not overshoot your expectations. ROKU, that's our next one. I'm trying to keep this short, guys. I don't want to ramble on you. We're almost at the 10-minute mark already. ROKU had a steady state downward trend line. So it had gapped down in the morning. It tried to consolidate and come up, and it held this trend line, which had a decent look all the way from back here. I know some of you guys will go, oh, that's not what a trend line looks like. I promise you, once you've been doing this long enough, what you're going to notice is a trend line is what it needs to be. It's not always going to be picture perfect. And if you're only drawing the picture perfect ones, you're really missing out on the majority of the message. It's like a lot of good books. There's a lot of great information in it, but you kind of got to read between the lines and enjoy the story. All right, so pre-market, we kept setting in these lower highs until we got here. But you notice it was just a little blip. It quickly dropped back down and kind of had this plateau effect. So I kind of disregard things like this whenever I've got a good solid trend line. But I waited for that price action to get under that trend line, okay? So let's see how that happened. AMD, it was up here. It broke below, and then it tried to come up. We got these big wicks. It shoved it up. And then we had a couple of greens, and I was worried this thing was going to break and go long. And what do I have here? I have my resistance trend line. I have my pre-market low. So I was waiting for this thing to set itself up into a wedge pattern and just say, screw you, I'm doing what I want. Well, when I got this confirmation, I just knew it was coming, and I was originally waiting till here. But what happened was, when this second candle had this wick action where it just shoved the price action down, I didn't even wait. As soon as it touched it and it stopped dead on the line that I drew, I was like, that's my cue. It stopped where I drew a line in the sand, and I'm taking it, good, bad, or the ugly. So my risking on that was going to be the tops of this candle right here. So that 51.16 was going to be my risk. And I got a great entry, and I let it ride down. I started to get out here, but I didn't. I just held. It was going to be one of those days where I wasn't going to get out until it touched back at the pre-market low. And I stuck it out, held through the pain, came on down to 47.55, ended up pulling me $3.22 worth of price action out. I couldn't complain. And then you see it's kind of gone back up since then. I had contemplated getting back in, but, you know, it just wasn't in it for me today. I normally, as much as I hate AMD because I do tend to lose more trades on AMD than just about any other ticker, I captured the meat and potatoes, and I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let it win today and chop me out and think I can re-short it or go long. Because what happens is, if you look, let's say this was support for the morning, because you see how we got a little bit of consolidation going on here. Well, then here's my resistance line. That leaves me a lot of play in this triangle action. This thing could go back and forth all day long before it decided to break up. So I looked at it, and I was just like, you know what? You ain't getting me like that. No devil's triangle today, buddy. All right. So next one up is going to be AMD. Wait, that was Roku. God, I'm sorry. AMD is the one that always shakes me out, not Roku. Same thing though. You know, just the action wasn't in it for me. All right, so let's go back. Remember, I drew this freaky long trend line. And then I used support from over here, and then even support from way back here, I think. Just trying to get a handle on things, right? So let's look at what happened. It was kind of ping-ponging around, and then it dropped way down, but it catches that support, comes way back up, drops way down, found that support. So what I was seeing at the beginning of this morning was these two are respecting each other until you got to here, and it dropped below. So what happens when it dropped below? I entered. I didn't get the best entry. I had actually contemplated taking this thing long here, and it shot back up, and when that candle just came down, the wick pushed it down below. I was like, you know what? I'm wrong. My bias on this thing is not where I think it should be. I took it short and pulled out way more than I thought. When this first red candle hit this fib, I'm like, all right, it goes back up. Okay, normal. And then when the price action shoves down and it started to go below, but it didn't cleanly break this fib, it started pulling back. That's why I exited the trade here, because I didn't want that rebound rubber band action. And what happened? It comes straight on back up. So I had taken it from this fib all the way down to this fib. I missed my exit on this point, but I did get it before it retraced from here. So that pulled me a full 49 cents, almost a full 50 cents on it. Could I have taken it long? Yes, but I was short biased on this thing for the day. So what happens? It comes back up, kind of consolidates here between the pre-market low and this previous support we had drawn down. And then it breaks through that support. And at this point, I thought, wow, that would have been good. I should have taken it long, but I missed my entry. So being as I missed 30 cents worth of entry and I had this other support here, I was looking at, well, my upside to this is probably going to be 255 to 280. That's about 30 cents. And what happens? You see how it was moving up solid, and then you hit this area of consolidation up in here? So let me get a little closer. Maybe that'll make it easier. You see how we have this little area of consolidation? That's what I love about using this Fibonacci. I got a fib resistance on top and I got a fib support here, but my wicks keep pushing higher. And this was when I was like, man, maybe I should take this thing long. But here's my pre-market high. So I look at it and I go, damn, that's only like 10 cents, 20 cents. So I just decided, you know what? It's not. I was still short biased and I thought, man, this thing ain't going to blow through. So I waited for it to get up here expecting the rejection, and it did. It didn't go to the next fib up. It rejected, got below the pre-market open, and I should have shorted here, but I didn't because I was expecting with this pre-market resistance line, I was expecting to see a green candle here, and it didn't. I missed my entry, and I thought, shit, I just missed the opportunity. I'm not going to chase. And then what happened is when it bounced here, this gave me my opportunity. So what I saw here was I have resistance here and I have resistance here. My plan was that if it broke below this 4-hour longer term support line, I was entering at 2180. So I jumped in as soon as I could, wanted to ride it down, and I was trying to pull out a full like 30 cents at least, but hoping that this was going to be the long-term down. And when it hit this pre-market support and was damn near to the penny on that, and I seen the green start coming back up, as soon as I got that next red candle down and it stopped at it, I jumped out of the trade. So I took my 24 cents. I left the party. Did it go a little bit lower? Yes, but I got out where I felt safe. I could have re-entered short when I seen it was breaking underneath here, but given today's action, guys, I just knew I was done for the day, okay? I was done for the day. All right, so that covers those. I'm not going to go in depth, but I'm going to show you the rest of my charting just so you can see it. Oh, tell you what, before we get off of that, let's look at AMD on the longer time frame and why I was not wanting to push the boundaries, right? So when you look at it here, because it had fell off for a week in value, had that huge sell down. Basically, the last week, we were gap filling from what we lost on this day, right? But that put our long-term trend into a slow, steady decline. You can see that by our 200 EMA. But in the short term, this last week has caught up and put our 20 EMA over the top of our 50 EMA. So our short-term trend is green. So why was I banking on shorting green versus, you know, why was I going to short this when the short-term trend said it's positive? Well, simple. Here we had extended a good ways off of the 20 and the 50. So your 9 EMA would be somewhere right up in here. It's just not showing. It would roughly follow this green line here. So what I saw is that my distance approximately to my 200 EMA was far, far away from my 20 and my 50. So we had a week's worth of positive growth, and then I'm starting to see a little bit of a lower high setting in. So I figured this was time to consolidate and come back towards this 20 EMA. And that's what happened. So that's why I did it, and that's why I looked at it that way. All right, now we're at the 20-minute mark. We've covered 4 tickers, why I did it, how I did it. Let's cover the ones that we didn't go into and round out this last 5 minutes. CGC, Canopy Growth Company. This thing had pretty good movement today. Remember, we were looking at this earlier, said if this is our pre-market high and here's our pre-market low, and then we drew in longer term resistances. And I didn't just do one, I did a couple. And then my pre-market support just was, it was a good guess, man. This ain't rocket gynecology, right? So what happened is we're approaching the start of the day. It just kept setting in these higher or lower highs. And what I noticed was it was trying to hold beneath here. So when I broke this support, this is the general time frame around 5 a.m. is when I started drawing my chart. And this is what the pre-market low was. Bam. Then the pre-market low dropped again, but I had to use what information I had at the time. We broke below the support. We held below this resistance. So as we were coming up and I seen these red candles, I thought, man, this thing's going short. And then what does it do? It stops out at this. So I just said, you know what? This little bit of action at like 20 cents isn't worth me getting involved. I just didn't see enough profit potential. I saw a chop fest on our hands, and that's kind of what we had. Could you make money in this? Yes. Is it basically following the plan that we were looking at? Well, yeah, it's holding below this resistance. It held for a while below this resistance, but my money said there were better tickers to play today, so that's what I stuck with. And then on the 4-hour chart, you can see this was just one of those ones where it wasn't too pleasant. I was hoping it would have got below the 200 prior to the start of the day, but it looks like it's trying to bounce and ride off on top of that 200, which will be good for tomorrow and next week. But for today's trading, it just wasn't where I wanted to be. Next up, CRON. CRON is slowly loading. It's been in that down decline. We had that huge move up, but then we rounded off, and our short-term, our longer side of the short-term trend was that we were in a decline. And then the short-term, we're gaining. We had good growth with the 20 and the 50 trying to catch up, but we're sandwiching right here. We're sitting above that 50 EMA. So why did I not fool with this thing? It was real choppy, didn't have enough volume in it. It was holding below these trend lines we drew, but a grand total of, say, 909 to 950, 40 cents worth. It's just, it would have been good ticker if that's all I was interested in playing, but they had so much more on the market today that I could play. I just played with something that was a little more valuable. Was able to have more potential for cash return. NEO. Let's look at NEO. NEO just got away from me. Plain and simple. Should have been playing it, and I had too much on my plate and just didn't get back to it. Here was our pre-market analysis. What happens as we're going into this? It was selling off. It caught a little bit of traction, goes up, and right here where our price action was, look at that. Price consolidates. Once it figures it out, it gets above the pre-market resistance line, and then it drops again, retests, gets above the pre-market support. This candle here should have been my entry point. This should have been my stop loss area. And then my first target profit should have been the high a day. And that would have been a good grip. When it retests and breaks above, there's another entry. But nearly spot on, guys, 708. I missed the grand total of where I marked this line at by 2 cents. 2 cents worth of analysis is how far I was off on this thing. So this would have been a great trade. I would have been all over it. Got at least 1,000 shares, maybe 2,000 shares in on it just for the fun of it. And I didn't take it. I missed it. But this would have been my entry right here. This first green above this Fibonacci. This would have been my entry point. And that would have been a solid grip. But coulda, shoulda, woulda. I didn't. Don't sweat it. Bigger tickers. Baba. What did we get out of Baba? Had some pretty decent action. Look at that. Following down below that trend line. I just didn't feel like playing it. Today I've been all about the lower dollar tickers. You see, guys, how well this Fibonacci just holds up? That's why I use it so much, you know? And then look at that. To the penny stops on it. You know, it does that all the time. Next one up, let's take a look at Apple, which I really hate the charting right now with Apple because for some reason there's a glitch on this stock in particular and it just doesn't like anything. I didn't even draw this out. Holy cow. All right. So let's see. Yeah, should have looked something like that. And it would have held below this. This would have been red. Whoop. Let's make it real red. See? Apple just not wanting to cooperate. Yeah, you could have made good money on this. I just decided not to. How close were these Fibonacci's hitting? I mean, you be the judge for yourself, you know. This one stopped it within 1 penny. These are sitting on it. So, very happy. You could have made some good money on this. I wasn't in the mood to play the big dollar stuff. But 10 to 7, $3 grip. Yeah, good consistent money. Tesla's always on the list. I don't like to play it, but I do like to watch it. And where did it come up? Broke the 100, broke the 200, reject. So Tesla scares the hell out of me, guys. Like, I've been wrong on it before, and it's been painful when I was wrong. But when this thing's moving, God, it can make you some money. Fibonacci, yeah, does respect it, just not quite as well as most tickers. Tesla kind of does what it wants, just like Elon. But I can't knock it. It's solid. It makes a lot of people a lot of money. Next one up, and the last one we're going to cover. Nope, last two we're going to cover. Facebook. Facebook with that solid drop. Facebook has just been suffering lately. And it would have been marked out. Oops. Something like this. And when it broke below there. Nope. What am I looking for? Yeah, let's change it to red. That's what I'll. Come on. All right. You don't want to play ball. Got it. All right. So anyway, once it broke below here, you know, it would have been in short territory. But look at the respect for the Fibonacci. I mean, just spot on. Spot on. Oh, no. Tries to retest. Spot on. Then it breaks down below. So, huge money potential today for Facebook. Textbook, easy to trade. I just had my nose all up on the small stuff. Speaking of which, AMD's taking a good drop right now. That would have been good. But like I said, I'm done for the day. My brain is burnt. I had enough, and I'm not going to be greedy. Netflix. Netflix was paying the bills for a couple of people. Brandon in our room, Brandon just crushed it. So it came up, tested the high, tested back low, and here we were outside of the Bollinger Band, came back up, tested the high side of the Bollinger Band, then dropped back. This is what scared me, was this just ping pong action, right? And then I just didn't see where it had picked a direction. So I didn't touch it, but the Fibonacci was on point. I just didn't play it. Some of these big tickers scare the hell out of me, and I'd just rather stay away from them. I can't take enough shares. You know, I like hitting that range where I stay in round numbers, like 250 shares, 500 shares, 1,000, 2,000. And when I play these tickers like Netflix, it keeps me down around like 50 to 100 shares where I'm feel comfortable. And, you know, some days I just, you know, the big price moves scare the hell out of me. You know, I like smaller, more consistent profits over a longer term. Yeah, you can make a lot more money with a lot more money riding on it, but it messes with my nerves. and I'd rather not have my nerves messed with and can do more solid trading. That's where my enjoyment lies. And right now, if this thing stops right here and rejects, we just set ourselves in a new higher low. So this thing might reverse on you here. Real time, watching it happen. I was going to close this video out. We're 30 minutes in. I was going to get off of here, but you know what? This might be worth watching. Let's see. Let's see if the next candle is green, then this thing's ready to reverse. It's a little bit late for a reversal. Should have been around 8, but we're not quite to 8:30. We're still in that range. Yeah, doesn't look like it's ready for it. This thing may continue down. Still got a little room. Oh, there's your rejection. There's your rejection, baby. Look at that. Look at that. Hopefully it doesn't make me eat my words right now. See how that price action is just a little bit higher? There's your support. That next candle is probably going to open about midways where this wick action is. And then we'll see this next candle shoot up over the pre-market low, which was 324.40. At least that's what we're hoping is going to happen. Oh, ugly. Ugly baby. Send it to Walmart. Let's see. Come on. No, go green. Go green. Go green. Green. It's got a hell of a wick for a green candle. And it couldn't do it. It's trying though. Boy, it's like the little engine that could. Oh, well. Y'all can turn around and look at it on your own. You'll figure out what it does. I'd love to sit here with it, but I don't want to bore you guys waiting on a candle. And you can always use this as an exercise. Pull up the next candle on your own. See if I was wrong. Let's see. Let's shoot you a target on the map. Bam. That's where we're going. In the next 3 candles, we're going to be up there. And no, I'm not going to put a bet or a Coke on that. Tell you what, guys, that's going to be it for the day. Today's market recap. Don't forget, tomorrow, Friday the 9th, going to have 2 mentor sessions open to the public. Anybody that's subscribed to my channel, you're welcome to come. We're going to have an open mic Q&A. That's going to be at noon Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. And that's going to be 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What is that? 2 p.m. Pacific Time. And then we're going to do the same schedule again on Saturday the 10th. All right, guys. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Thanks for getting me up there in subscribers. And, you know, come on over to Boiler Room if you're not already. Check it out. See what we got to do. Whole lot more people, you know, just like me, doing this every day. So, see you soon.